Yep. So what I'm doing here is stretching out material for the cheek protection. This one will be riveted onto leather and fixed on each side of the helmet. And it will actually also be the chin strap. So here it will be a loop so you can tie the helmet onto your head. And now it's time to turn the edge on the cheek piece. And this is made the same way as on the helmet. You just turn it inwards and then you sharpen it up on the outside. And here, instead of using a chisel outside, I put it on the comb here and then strike it back. There you are. Now, when the cheek pieces are ready, I made some holes in it as well, the same way as I did on the helmet, with a punch against the wood. Now, when they are finished, it's time to color the helmet black. Most of those helmets were colored black, and I prefer to linseed oil burn them, and I prefer to do it over open fire because you get some extra blackness from the grime that comes from the firewood itself. You can also add some pigments in the oil, some black pigments if you like. But yeah, I prefer for the firewood. So I just have been cutting the firewoods in small pieces like this, so you get a lot of flame, and then I just start to heat the helmet up. And it's important to get a quite even heat around the whole helmet, and not to get it too hot, because if you get it too hot you burn away all the oil and it will not protect the helmet from rust anymore, and the color will be different as well. And to add the oil onto the helmet, I don't use a brush because the brush would be destroyed by the heat on the metal. I use linen cloth, and I put it together like this, and I strike it on with this linen cloth. And now it starts to getting quite good temperature, so now I can add the oil on the helmet. And be careful that you don't get too much heat, as I said, because then you burn away the oil. And here it's much better to have some patience If you have too much heat, it's too quick. So take it slow and have patience. Sometimes you need to add some more oil if it's too thin, but be careful to take too much. It will easily crack off if you have too much oil on the surface. You can still see it's a little bit of brown here, so I give it a little bit more. So now I'm pleased with the result. It's black everywhere. Looks good. And now for the cheek pieces. These are small, so it's much quicker to heat them up. Next step before you can add the leather inside the helmet and on the cheek pieces is to make historical washers. And I have been cutting out 1mm sheet metal here, and I have hammered it so it's about 0.7 millimeters now. And I will hammer the whole surface. It looks much better. And you just punch hole in it like on the helmet. You have to straighten out. And now you just cut the washers out with a chisel. The most common shape on the munition armor in the 17th century is squared one or squared with cut corners. So you could go and cut the corners as well. Now it's time to add leather to the cheek pieces, and I use around 3 millimeters thick natural dyed undyed leather, and I use rivets with flat rivets with handmade heads, and I put in the washer. I put in the leather in the hole, and then I make a doomed rivet. Now the leather has been added to the cheek pieces, and as you can see here, it forms a loop, and this loop is going under your chin, so you can tie the helmet onto your head. Now I have prepared the leather that the liner will be attached to in the helmet. This is very nice buff leather. It's strong and soft and easy to stitch on. The liner will be stitched on this string, but first we have to rivet it into the helmet. And the first I don't rivet in now because I will put the end up here. Don't forget to put in the cheek pieces here. So it's in the same hole, the cheek piece, as for the lining strap. That's the last one. Now the metal work on the helmet is finished. What's left now is to stitch in the liner into the leather here. And the liner is made out of linen. I've been looking at some originals, and they are most of them are constructed of two halves, and you cut it on the diagonal and you stitch it in the middle, together in the middle, and you stitch it in like this. This is armor at its very lowest quality, but it really has its qualities, I think, because of the, as I said in the beginning, you really have to push yourself, not going in too much in the details, and it's a really nice exercise for an armorer to try to make this. And of course there is also with this kind of helmet different levels. When you look at originals, you have even rougher than this, and you have finer with finer lines and things like this. But if you want to push yourself to try to do it quick and with as less energy as possible, just leave the details and do it as quick as you can. And I've been reading documents from early 17th century that master armorer in Sweden, he was expected to produce 40 of these helmets each month and 6 breastplates. So of course then he had perhaps a journeyman that helped him, but 40 of these a month and 6 breastplates. So you really have to have the speed to make it look like the originals. Yeah, that's it for now.